or a little bit about my father and some of the time I had with him. I can tell you right now, he would love to, he's loving seeing all of you here right now. If he still could, he'd get his phone out and take a picture, put it on Facebook. At the funeral, gotta get it in. One of the first memories I have of my father was him teaching me how to ride a bike, the training wheels and everything. I remember me being at the top of the hill and him being at the end of it. The second memory was when he was getting me ready for school. And I was running up to the bus, and I had some sandals on, and I stepped in ants. I was like, man, so I ran back home, and he cleaned my feet. And that's all I remember about that. My father liked to make a grand entrance. That's understandable. Grand people deserve a grand entrance. I remember growing up, he liked listening to R. Kelly, R&B. He had this blue Chrysler 300. It was all pimped out. We'd ride around in Greensboro with the windows down, R. Kelly playing, turn heads. He smelled good, dressed nice all the time. It was then that I said, man, my dad is so cool. When I was in 4th grade, he came out on a field trip with me. He was in the Chrysler. And I remember when we were walking, we could see the parking lot, and I was telling all the kids, look over there, that's my dad's car. That's my dad's car. See the blue one over there with the rims? Yeah. It got to the point whenever he'd walk in somewhere unexpectedly, I'd quickly jump up and try to fix any discrepancies about myself, because I wanted to make sure I was just as swag as he was. And I guess, but I wanted to make sure people knew he was my dad and I was his son. And in the past few years, a lot of time when I was on vacation from school, him and I would ride around and we'd just be doing whatever, completing any errands he had to get done, ripping and running. He would try to talk to me about different things. I called them our car ride conversations. I'm going to miss that. One of the funniest things I remember about my father, we were at my grandmother Lewis's house for some event, and it was raining a bit outside. He came in a little wet. He came in to get something to eat. And she was like, Frederick, wash your hands. And he said, Lord spell, I wash my hands, all that rain out there. He was always challenging me. I remember a long time ago, he knew I was a little afraid of bugs and insects. So we were somewhere and there was this bee, a wasp on the floor. Not sure what it was. He told me to pick it up. I was like, okay. And he said, are you scared? I said, no, of course not. I was terrified, but he wasn't going to know that. So I went down to pick it up and he said, don't worry about it. And I was like, cool, whatever. But on the inside, I was still happy. With other moments like this, when I started to think that my dad didn't like me, he said, but when he told me in one of our car ride conversations, he said he would do anything for us, I and my 2 sisters, that he would die for us. I knew then he was only trying to do what's best, what he thought was best for us. Like football, I never cared too much for it, but my father said I had the size and that I should do it. I could tell how much he liked telling his friends about me being the next NFL superstar. He had a picture of me in my football uniform from the game as a screensaver for the longest. It made him happy, so I was happy. He talked about sending me to a camp ever since I was in 6th grade, but something kept coming up every summer. But in June this year, he finally got to send me to a camp at LSU. And after the camp, he told me a friend of his said camps don't really help much because there's so many people there. You know, there was a lot of people there. There was about 700 young men out there trying to better themselves in football. But he said next year he's going to get me a personal trainer. He never got the chance to do that. Well, as most of you know, he was an Army man. But as he said, he was an Army man. Like what? I never had the courage to say, no, Dad. No, it's not how you say it. But when I asked him what he did in the Air Force Reserve, he said it was his job to bring in supplies and ammunition to the soldiers. I asked him this in one of our car ride conversations. I did proceed to tell him that I was proud that he wasn't like the other men who were not in their children's lives, and glad that he got out and he did everything he could for us. He said he didn't just do it because that's what a good father is supposed to do. He also wanted us to enjoy the luxuries in life, which we did. He was very ambitious. That's also another reason I looked up to him so much. And here's a little story. We were riding and we went to Verizon Wireless because he kept complaining about getting dropped calls, and he was talking to the man, and he said, man, a 2-minute conversation turned into a 10-minute conversation, all the redial I got to do and all of this. And I was just listening to him, and he was talking to him, and by the end of that conversation, he had money reduced from his bill for a number of months, and a new phone sent to him the next day, delivery, no charge. I was like, man, how do you do it? You know, at an early age, I knew I was into politics. And then I knew it was in my blood with my grandfather running for justice of the peace, and then my father running for sheriff. We were talking about how he would run again in a few years, and that he would be more prepared this time. And I said I couldn't wait to get out there and help him with it this time around. Though I'm going to get this chance now. There's a lot of things I won't get to do with him now. Graduation, wedding, birth of his grandchildren. Thought he would be there. I often imagine the stories I would tell with him, or about him with him, to my children. Whenever he called me, because I'd rather call him, something I regret now. But when he called me, the conversation would go a little something like this. Hey, what you doing? And I'd say, nothing, or I'd say, I'm watching TV. Then he'd ask me something depending on, whatever time it was, whatever was going on in my life. And then I'd tell him about it, and I'd ask something else, and then he'd say, all right, just checking on you. And I'd say, all right. Then he'd hang up, and I'd hang up, and then end the conversation. No longer than a minute or two. I could have spoke to him longer. I know that's what he would have wanted. But I kept telling myself I'll bond with him later. Later, I told myself. A lot of us go through life thinking tomorrow is promised, but it's clear that it's not. There's so much I wish I would have said to him, asked him. I could tell there was so much he wanted to teach me, and there was so much I needed to learn. I could tell him, I told him about this girl I met this summer. She went to a different school, and I told him I liked her, and she liked me. But she had a boyfriend already. But I wanted to change schools, and he told me not to do that, especially not for some girl. He said she could turn around and decide to stay with her boyfriend, and you at this school looking a fool. Sure enough, less than a week later, after he told me this, she texted me and said she wanted to stay with her boyfriend. Thanks, Dad. The weekend before he passed was my first time cutting the grass. I didn't know how to use a weed eater, so I was going to call him, but I decided to call my grandfather instead. I thought he might know a little bit more about that stuff. Now I wish I would have called my father. That would have been the last time I spoke to him. But instead it was that Friday before, he called me and he said he was in the academy, he was about to give me some cleats. He said he's going to call me back and see what kind I wanted.